Good morning, class. This is Miss Correa coming to you straight from my classroom, room 45, and at 15th Street Elementary. And today we're going to be doing some reading. Usually I do read aloud with you, but today we are going to be doing more like of a shared reading. But we're still going to work on some of the components we've been working on in our reading, such as thinking about the lesson or the moral of the story as we read this book, okay? So as we read today, I won't be asking you so many questions about predicting or inferring today, because today we're going to be working on how we can help ourselves make sure that our reading is making sense, sounding right, and looking right. So we're working on some different things today in your reading, but we're still going to be working at the end about thinking about what lesson did the story teach us today. So what is the moral of the story? What did the author want us to learn from this book, okay? So today we're going to actually be reading a fable. And you may have read this story before, but it's called The Boy Who Cried Wolf. And again, like I've said in my classroom before, fables are stories that have been told from a long time ago, told and retold. And we actually sometimes don't know who actually made up the original stories. But this story is retold by Jeffrey L. Williams, and the pictures are illustrated by Valentina Jaskina, okay? So again, a fable is normally or usually a book that's written so long ago that we actually don't know who the real author is, but the story's been retold over the years, and usually they're really great stories. So this one's called The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Here we go. As we read, I want you to be thinking about, does that make sense? Does that sound right? And does that look right? I'm going to have some Post-its covering up some important words, and we're going to be thinking together, does that make sense? What word would make sense right there? What word would maybe sound right in that sentence? And does that look right? Okay, so also we're going to be using this poster. Okay, it's called Tools for Solving and Checking Hard Words. And I will link this poster later at the end, but we're going to be looking at this poster and things to make sure that everything makes sense as we can think about what's happening. And we can also check the picture. Checking the picture helps us think about, do the words match the picture? Does that make sense with the story? When we're thinking about what sounds right, we want to think about, what kind of word might fit right there that would make that sentence sound right? We can also go back to the beginning of the sentence and get a running start and think about what word might fit also. And when we're talking about does that look right, when we're thinking about that as we're reading, sometimes we might do a slow check to check the sounds of the words. We might crash word parts together if we don't know the word and we want to try and figure out what the word might say. You might read a long word part by part and then put them back together and see, what word would make sense right there? Does that look right? And we might try a word many ways, trying those vowels different ways to see which one would make sense. And sometimes you might want to use a word a smaller word in the bigger word that you're reading to find out what that word is. And always check if there's a snap word or a sight word in there. And then figure out what the word means. So when it says, does it look right? That means like, do the letters look right from what I know about word families and digraphs and blends? Do those words look right? So again, as we read today and as you read at home today and every day, you want to be doing these things in your brain to make sure that your reading makes sense, sounds right, and looks right. Here we go. The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Let me grab it. Okay. The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Again, this is a fable. Here we go. Once upon a time, there was a boy who took care of sheep. So here he is. Looks like a nice little boy with sheep. Let's see the next picture. If he saw a wolf, he would yell, and the people in the town would come running to the wolf away. What word would makes sense right there? Let's reread. It says, if he saw a wolf, he would yell, and the people in the town would come running to ch the wolf away. What would make sense right there? The people would come running to change the wolf away? That wouldn't make sense. To cheese the wolf away? That wouldn't make sense. What are they doing in the picture? Remember? We want to make sure we look at the pictures and think about what makes sense. What are they doing? What are the people doing to the wolf right here in his little thinking bubble? They are They would come running to I know what would make sense right there. I'm thinking maybe to chase the wolf away because I see that they're kind of like making him go wolf with their rakes, like trying to chase him away. So it says, if he saw a wolf, let's double check it makes sense. If he saw a wolf, he would yell, and the people in the town would come running to chase the wolf away. That does make sense, and it does sound right. That's the way we talk when we're reading. We speak when reading. But let me make sure that it looks right. If it looks right, what would be the next letter in the word chase? Ace. What other sounds do I hear? Do you hear an A also? I hear A. I hear an A. Chase. And I also hear an S at the end. Let's make sure that the word looks right, because if it doesn't have those letters, then it's probably not the word chase. Let's double check. Great. Ch-a-s. And we have a silent E at the end. That E tells the A to say your name. Instead of saying A, it says A. Excellent job. Now let's go back and get a running start and make sure that our reading sounds really smooth. If he saw a wolf, he would yell, and the people in the town would come running to chase the wolf away. Great. Now our reading makes sense, sounds right, and looks right. But the wolf never came. Day after day, it is always the same, said the boy. I wish something exciting would happen. So he's kind of bored there, isn't he? Then he had an idea. I will play a I see the TR. I know that blend says Trying to think. I will play a and yell woof. What do you think that would make sense right there? I will play a truck and yell? That doesn't make sense. I will play a I can't think of. Let's take a look at the next letter and see if we can think about what word would make sense right there. The next letter is an I. We know the I is a vowel sound and it says I. So I'm going to go ahead and blend those together. I. Tri. Let me go back and reread and see what I can think. What word would make sense? What word would fit right there? I will play a I and yell. I will play a maybe a trick. Would that make sense? Let's double check. I will play a trick and yell. That kind of makes sense to me, and it kind of makes sense with that story because he's kind of laughing. And sometimes when you play a trick on people, you might laugh a little bit, right? So let's see. I will play a trick and yell. So we know it makes sense, and we know it sounds right the way we talk. But we want to make sure that the letters look right. And if the word is trick, we want to make sure that the sounds at the end are what we hear. So let's see. Does that look right? Tra-ik. Tra-ik. So what goes right here? What sound should be at the end? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Maybe a K, maybe a C. Let's check. Great, a C and a K. We know that says k. Let's blend together. Tra-ik. Trick. So now we know that it also not just makes sense and not just sounds right. It also looks right. So we always want to make sure, boys and girls, when you're reading, you're always making sure your reading makes sense, sounds right, and looks right. It has to be doing all of these three things to make sure that your reading you're doing well in your reading. Because when we're reading all the time, those are the three items we want to be checking all the time as we read. Let's go back and reread and make it sound real smooth. I will play a trick and yell, woof! Then all of the people will run to help, and I will, he said, I will. Let's take a look. What do you think he's going to do? I see a thinking bubble here. He will la la la. What would make sense? Do you see what he's doing in the picture? Looks like he's haha laughing, right? So, does laughing make sense right here? Does laughing sound right? And does laughing look right? Let's check. Then all of the people will run to help, and I will laughing, he said. Laughing kind of makes sense. But when I read it, it didn't sound right. And I will laughing? That's not the way we talk. And I will laugh. That makes more sense and sounds right. Let's check. Laughing, if it's a laughing, I know at the end it's an ing because ing says ing. Let's check. Is there an ing? Nope. So it looks like the word is just laugh. Let's go back and reread, and then we're going to check again to make sure it does all, that sentence does all of these three things. Makes sense, sounds right, and looks right. Here we go. Then all of the people will run to help, and I will laugh, he said. Wow, that's not very nice, is it? So the boy cried, "Woof!" All of the people in the town ran to help. When the people got to the boy, they were upset. "There is no woof," they grumbled. The boy laughed as everyone went, "Ha." Ha. Everyone went, ha. The first sentence, ha. What would make sense? Everyone went, humming? No. Everyone went, ha? Maybe. But the ha would be like ha, ah, like two sounds. And I feel like this word is longer than two sounds, so that wouldn't look right. I'm guessing. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Where would people go after they went somewhere? They might go, ha ha. Maybe go home. That would make sense. The boy laughed as everyone went home. Yep, that makes sense and sounds right. Let's make sure it looks right. If it's the word home, what other sounds do you hear in home? Say it slowly to yourself. Home. Ho. I hear an O. Home. What sound is that? An M. Excellent job. So let's check. Home. And we have in silent E again at the end. The silent E tells that O not to say ah, to say its name. Oh, home. Excellent job. So now we know what makes sense, sounds right, and looks right. Now we know we did a good job reading. The next day, the boy cried, "Woof!" All of the people in the town ran to help again. Here he is. When the people got to the boy, they were, What do you think they were? Look at them. Let's kind of make an inference right here by just checking the clues in the pictures. How do the people look? Merry? Merry is like another word for happy. Do they look merry? No, they don't look very happy to me. I'm thinking when I make my face look like that, sometimes I'm kind of mad, right? So, if this is the word mad, that's a pretty simple word, right? We know that's a CVC word. We want to make sure that not just makes sense. It does make sense because it looks like they're mad here in the picture. But we want to make sure it sounds right. It does sound right. They were mad. But what sounds do you hear at the end? Mad. You should hear what? An A and a D. Excellent job. The boy laughed as everyone went home. This is the second time the boy cries woof, but there's no woof. So people are getting pretty mad, right? Like, why are you wasting our time? Soon the boy cried, "Woof again!" This time, only some of the people in the town ran to help. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Like, why only some? Turn and talk to someone at your house. Why before, when the boy cried woof, did all the people of the town run to help him? But this time, only some of them went to help. Think about it. Why do you think only some of them went to help? I'm thinking, and I hope this is what you were thinking too, that some people, only some came because the other people probably didn't believe him anymore because This is what, the third time he cries woof? And is there a woof around? Do you see? I don't see one either. So let's see what happens. So maybe they're starting to not believe him, right? When the people got to the boy, they were, I see an A here. So sometimes the A says what? We know that the A says ah, ah, ah. So let's go back and reread it, get a running start, and think about what would make sense right here. What word could we plug in to make sense? When the people got to the boy, they were ashamed? No, that doesn't make sense there. I can't think of one. Let's look at the next letter. N. They were N. I can't think of any word that would make sense with the word N. You know what? Sometimes, remember, boys and girls, from some of our lessons, we remember that the vowels say two. You can try them two ways. They say two different sounds. They say a short A, and they say the long A, which is the name of the letter, A. Let's try it now. They were ang. Let's check the next sound. Ang. They were, I know what makes sense. Do you? What would make sense? When the people got to the boy, they were ang. Look at them. They look real mad. What's another fancy word for mad? Angry? Would that make sense? If it's angry, what would look right at the end? Angry. What sounds do you hear at the end? Tell someone at your house what sound you hear. Angry. I'm hearing an R at least. Let's check. There it is. R and a Y. Angry. Let's go back and reread that and make that sentence sound smooth like a storyteller. When the people got to the boy, they were angry. There is no woof, they yelled. The boy laughed as everyone went home. So this is, again, the fourth time the boy has cried woof, but now there's no woof again. So do we think anybody's going to believe him again? Uh-oh. I'm going to show you the picture, and I want you just to think about what's happening in the story now. Just then, the woof came out of the first sound I see is the letter F. We know that letter F says F. What would make sense right there? Where does the woof come out of? Think about what you know about the animal of the woof and where they live. They live in the Do you have a thinking bubble here? Are you thinking about what makes sense where the woof lives in the Me too. I'm thinking the forest. Just then, the wolf came out of the forest. Yep, that makes sense. And it sounds right, just the way we talk. Now we have to make sure that all the sounds look right. Forest. What do you hear? What other sounds do you hear? Forest. I hear an O. Forest. I also hear an R in the middle. And at the end, I hear st. I know that's an ST blend, so I'm thinking that will be there too. Let's check to make sure that this word looks right. If it doesn't have the R or the ST, this word probably isn't forest and probably going to have to go back and recheck to see what word it can mean. But if it does have that, then it does look right. Let's check. Ready? Forest. So I do see the R and the EST. So that does make it look right. If it didn't have those sounds that I predicted, then it probably wouldn't be the word forest, and I have to go back and recheck. But since it is, I'm going to go back and reread and make it sound smooth. Here we go. Help me read. Just then, the wolf came out of the forest and chased all the sheep. What do you think the boy's going to yell this time? Woof, 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 cried the boy. I'm not tricking this time. But no one came running to help. I think you're thinking what I'm thinking. I'm thinking nobody believes him anymore, right? Sorry about that. He says tricking us, said the people. We're not going to run to help. Uh-oh. the boy ran to get help, and the wolf chased after him. I've learned my... The next word starts with the letter L. I've learned my L. What word would make sense right there? What did he learn? His L. Think about what makes sense and could sound right there. I learned my L. Are you thinking what I'm thinking too? Maybe he learned his lesson. I learned my lesson. That makes sense and looks right with the first sound, lesson. And it sounds the way we talk, but we need to always make sure that it makes sense, sounds right, and looks right. So we're going to check the last sounds to see if it could be the word lesson. Again, if the sounds don't match what we think they are, then we have to go back and recheck it. But if they do, then it probably is the word. So what sound do you hear? E, less, S, lesson. I hear at the end an N. Let's check if any of those sounds are what we predicted. Do you see them? Excellent job. The word is lesson because I saw that there's two S's and an N at the end. There's even an O there. Lesson. Let's go back and reread this sentence from the beginning and make it sound real smooth. I've learned my lesson, cried the boy as he got to the town. Look at the boy. Let's think about how he's thinking right now, how he's feeling. Just make a little inference here quickly. Look at his face and the clues. I know when I've seen people make that face, I can tell that they feel kind of sad, right? Like, or maybe ashamed even. So looks like he feels ashamed just because of he doesn't look very happy. He looks kind of like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. And he says, if I tell lies, even just to trick, no one will me when I need them to, he said. What could this word be? No one will I don't know. Let's check the next letter to see if that will help us, because I can't think of one word that would make sense right there. So sometimes, even if I see the beginning sound, I might have to check some other sounds first before I can think about what word would make sense. The next letter is an E. And I know that the B and the E actually are a sight word. It says the word be. So let's go back and reread, get a running start, and see if we can think about what word would make sense right here. If I tell lies, even just to trick, no one will be, still a little stuck. I'm going to look at the next letter. I know. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Maybe that word is the word believe. Let me see if that makes sense right there. If I tell lies, even just to trick, no one will believe me when I need them to, he said. That does make sense and sound right. Let's make sure we hear some other sounds at the end of the word believe. Believe. I hear an E. Believe. Do you hear a V at the end also? Let's check to see if those sounds are at the end. If they are, then great. The word makes sense, sounds right, and looks right. If they're not, then we need to look for another word. Think about another word. Here we go. Believe. There goes the E, and here's the V. Believe. And again, we have a silent E telling this E to say its name. Excellent job. Now let's go back and fix it and think about the story. If I tell lies, even just to trick, no one will believe me when I need them to, he said. Great. So now that we're done with this book, boys and girls, we really did a really good job of trying our best to make sure that we're thinking about all these things as we're reading, making sure that our reading is making sense, right? Use your brain. And some ways we can make sure it makes sense is by thinking about what's happening and checking the pictures. We want to make sure that our reading sounds right, just the way we talk. We can do that by getting a running start. And really important, not just those two, but also we always want to make sure that our reading makes sense, sounds right, and we want to make sure that those words look right. Look right means we're checking, doing slow checks, making sure the sounds sound right or sound the way we think they are. Like checking, did the sounds sound what I'm thinking about at the end? Also, maybe even crashing word parts together and reading your words part by part. Looking for sight words, like we found the word be and the word believe. So those are things we want to do today and every day as we read our books, it's important to be thinking about predicting and making inferences and summarizing what you're reading, thinking about what happened in the story, and also thinking about the lesson. But as you're reading, you need to be thinking about these things as well. These are also very important. So lastly, let's think about the lesson of the story. This is a fable, and often fables have really good lessons. And think about the lesson. What did the author or what did the story teach you? I'm going to give you about a few seconds to think about it on your own, and then tell someone at your house what you think this book taught us, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, so I'm hoping that you're thinking what I'm thinking too, and maybe you have a different lesson, because oftentimes books don't just have one lesson, they might have two or three lessons, and you might be thinking of something different, completely different than me. But I'm thinking that this book has taught us that it's not okay to lie, and that sometimes if you lie too often, people won't believe you anymore, right? So we don't want to be. Often people say when you lie too much, they call you the boy who cried wolf. They say, if you keep lying, people will never believe you. So when this little boy needed people, nobody arrived because he lied so often. So I think this book has taught me that it's important not to tell lies. What about you guys? All right, thanks for joining me on this read aloud, or as teachers call it, our shared reading, where we make sure to be thinking about what makes sense, what sounds right, and what looks right. Hope to see you guys next time.